Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Hope everybody's having a great week. We are on. Let me get this. I need to turn off a couple of the announcements here. Let me know in the chat if you can hear us. We are ready to rock and roll. I can see that Jeff is on, giving us a big wave. Welcome. And here we go. Yes, we are ready to rock and roll. All right. what are we doing tonight? Give me ideas. You tell me what we're doing tonight. No, I'm kidding. No, I know what we're doing. I've got to switch my ear from listening to everything to just listening to the music. Turn that down a little bit. Let me know if you guys can still hear me, if everything's good in the chat, if everything's good in the noise. We will get to the chat later on, answering any questions that you might have and stuff like that. We have had a awesome week. We have had a interesting couple days, and one of the things that we wanted to do was show you all what we've been doing for the last couple days. So I see we have some chat coming in, but they're not being updated in my thing. It says can you hear? Music. So can you guys not hear me? The music can go down a little bit. Let me, you know what? I don't know what. It would help if I talk into the microphone. That definitely would help. Yeah, if it's not one thing, it's another. That's just the nature of the game, isn't it? So I'm really liking the layout of the studio. We've got everything pretty much laid out. Cable management under control. Oh, there we go. Now the chat's updating. So I don't have to look over there behind me to see the chat. I can just look to my left or right, whatever side this is. I can't keep straight anymore. I think I've been working in broadcast long enough. I know my left and my right, but that's just the nature of the game. So with that being said, I need to bring up my other camera shots on my stream deck so I can play with my stuff. So I want to be able to change my cameras. So we are going to be looking at some stuff tonight. So as I said in the description, we've been having a very busy week. We have been doing some programming. As many of you know, if you don't already, not only do we have JAmemories, but I also work full-time for Richard Roberts Ministries, and we are getting ready to launch a new OTT platform, and we are gearing up for that. Been doing a lot of programming, a lot of testing and stuff like that. So I thought tonight would be a good night to kind of just go over some of that, because it goes into the repertoire of what I know and what I like to do. So we are going to have some fun tonight. Hopefully, it won't be too dry because we will be looking at a lot of code, a lot of things like that. So if that's not your cup of tea, hopefully you can grab a cup of coffee and you'll be good to go. I like coffee instead of tea anyway. That's just me. All right, so let's get rolling. All right. Yes, we can hear you. Yes, use mic. I think we've established that I am using the mic. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to hear me. And then you should know. Hopefully, Jeff, the whole point of the show is that I know the content. But you never know. Sometimes I could walk in here and go, I have absolutely no idea what we're talking about, and just going down the road like that. So, once again, let me switch back to my mix so I don't hear myself. There is absolutely no reason for me to hear myself through the headset. Now, so one of the challenges you get when you are programming and you're trying to find solutions is, at least for me, is I go to one of two places. I'll go to YouTube, or I'll go to just go straight to Google and look up stuff, look at see what other people have been doing. And one of the challenges that I came up with that I had to do this week was figure out a way to schedule programming so that I knew what was playing when, and be able to time it out to the exact amount of time that I wanted, and do it in such a fashion that we can copy and paste it, so that we can, say we didn't have 24 hours worth of content to air in a particular day. So I wanted to be able to take a block of time, copy that over to the schedule so that we could make a 24-hour schedule. So let me lay some groundwork for you to understand what I'm talking about and where I'm going with all of this. We are getting ready to launch a 24-hour OTT station so that we can publish our content and provide people with faith-based content, so that all the assets we have over the years, all the videos, all the shows we've done in the past, all the sermons we have, and just a myriad of other content that we have digitized, we want to make available to the viewer, not just on a video on demand platform, but also kind of guide them through a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week schedule, just like you would on a regular TV station. You have programming that goes in, and so that is the background of where I'm going. So I was tasked with the job of figuring out how to schedule on the 24-hour station the material that we have. And starting right out, the easiest way to do it is just take your assets, drag it into the scheduler, and voila, you now have a 24-hour schedule. But one of the things that really got tedious was having to drill down when you're looking at a 24-hour schedule, drilling into when you have assets that are 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 45 seconds, and trying to put them into an hour block. It kind of gets you kind of lose a perspective of what you're looking at, because the schedule's punched down. And if you open up the schedule so that you can see those assets, it's so big, you're constantly scrolling up and down. So the platform that we're on, which I'm not going to give you at the moment because we haven't really announced it yet, but the platform we're on allows you to upload a CSV file with all of your content, and in order so that you can schedule your material. And so I took that and ran with it. So I came up with so I was looking at a program that we could use to program. And lo and behold, our friend Microsoft Excel came to the rescue. At first, I thought about using Microsoft Access. Microsoft Access is designed as a database program, but with all of the challenges of learning the database software, learning the database language, and just programming it, seemed a little daunting. And so I said, you know what, let's start in Excel and see where we get. And I was happy to say I've been able to do everything I want in Excel. Excuse me. So I didn't have to go to different programs. I didn't have to program different things. So I'd like to, if you will bear with me tonight on tonight's show, is show you kind of where I'm at with all of this, kind of show you some of the code that I used, and show you some of the functions that I used to be able to manipulate Excel to do exactly what I need to do. So feel free at any time to leave a comment in the chat. As I see them come in, I'll try to address them. If something stands out and you have a question, leave it in the comments and I will be happy to answer them as I go. If you're watching this on the replay, feel free to leave a comment and I'll get to them as I am able. And don't forget, like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell and you'll be notified when we go live. We're typically live each Thursday night. Thursday night around 8 p.m. Central Time. And of course, as you know, JA Memories, we are an AV consulting business. We consult with churches, individuals, nonprofits, corporations, and things like that, where we provide consultations on streaming platforms, on streaming hardware, software, as well as installation of that hardware and software. So if you guys are looking for you have a project that you need help with, reach out. We do free consultations, free initial consultations, and then we go from there. So feel free to drop a like on the video, leave us a comment. You can reach us at by going to the website at JAmemories.com. Of course, you can email us at john@jamemories.com. With all of that being said and done, let's get into this. All right. So, of course, I got my wrong camera up on the video. I'm looking at the back of me, so I'll change that to myself, and let's do this. Now, I need you guys to be honest with you. Can you see the Excel sheet in the page? If you can't, let me know and I will try to make it bigger. I honestly think it doesn't work very well, so I am going to, by default, make it bigger and also shift it over a little bit. I think most of the code will live in this section of the video, so I think that should do it. And I promised last week, and I need to do this. I need to get one of my phones hooked up to the switcher so that I can give you guys a layout of how I have everything running, so you all can understand how I'm manipulating everything, how I'm making everything work in the chat, so, and in the videos. So okay, so what is this first page that we're looking at? One thing that you cannot see because of the ticker is if I can bring it off. There it is. Okay, so can you see that? Alright, so you can't see this page because of the fact that it's too big. So I can do this. Alright. So, with that being said, love my background. It's actually from Fortnite. I love Fortnite. Play Fortnite quite often. Of course, I did the opposite of what I wanted to do. I just love when Microsoft doesn't play nice. Getting a notification about something. Okay, so this first page is titled Asset Database. Asset database basically is a list of assets, a list of data that we will use in the subsequent pages later on down the road. And it's very crucial to have a spreadsheet, a worksheet that literally is nothing but data. It's the title of the asset, the duration of that asset, the ID that corresponds to the platform that we are live on, and then some metadata about what specific information correlates to this asset. So for us, we need the channel and sub-channel of that program so that I can filter it later based on those criteria. So all of this information is derived straight from the platform that we are going live on. So with that being said, it is crucial that a couple of pieces come into play. Number one, this column right here, the IDs. The IDs have to match perfectly because at the end of the day, if my assets don't have the same ID number as what the software has, I can't import that into the data, into the platform and get a active schedule. So with that being said, make sure we always have to make sure that the data and the IDs match. Now, I have 40 assets in this list right now, but we have plenty of room to expand. And one of the things that I'm going to try this, and it may not work because it's been freezing on me. Yes, something's not right with that with Excel. I've got to rebuild this entire database because there are some plugins that I'm using that are freezing the forms from work. So the only way to add that right now is by adding a new column, a new row. So unfortunately, the easy way of getting a form does not work. I am looking at the possibility of taking a form and adding it right here in the database and actually show up that we can add but I've got to do some programming and coding for that in Excel. You can add forms to your worksheets so that the data can then be added to the added to your page. We just have not done that yet. So in order to add more, you're going to hit the tab button at the bottom of your list. You now have another asset. Right now it's blank because we don't have anything. We can do I know we have this somewhere in our archive. It is not tied to an actual asset right now. I believe the video is 2 hours exactly. Like I said, this is not an actual asset from our platform, so I can't give it an ID yet, but I can pick the channel and then sub channel. If you notice on the sub channel, I can click here all day and I get nothing, because this column right here, the sub channel, is actually dependent upon the channel column. The sub channel drop down is subsequently dependent on, and this is called a cascading drop down list. So we come over to our channel first, pick what it is, and the venture interface would be classified, I believe, as a classic program. Once I pick my classic program, then I can come over to the sub channel and pick Something Good Tonight, Chronicles of Faith, and Hour of Healing. Now, Venture into Faith was actually a movie that we did years ago. So the closest thing that I have in my list of sub-channels would be Chronicles of Faith. Because Chronicles of Faith is the adventures of Oral's Tent Crusades. So that's the closest thing that I have. But this is not an active asset. I don't want that in my scheduler. So I'm actually going to go ahead and delete this row because it's actually not a real asset. Not yet, at least. So I'm going to bypass that for the moment. Now, once you have your assets in order, you have your title, your duration, ID, channel, and sub-channel, we are now ready to move on to the next phase, which is the schedule worksheet. Now this is where the money maker is. This is where all of the work is actually performed. But before we get to this point where we actually can do this schedule, we've got to make a few other pages that don't really get used, but they're crucial to the actual database. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're working with Excel and when you're working with any database software is to understand that your structure may not fit the same as other people's structure. You may get a skeleton of a template, but most of the time you have to manipulate that template in order to make this work. And believe me, I scoured the internet. I looked at templates probably for 3 or 4 days, and no one had a scheduler that would do what I needed it to do. So most of this compiled workbook is actually a combination of schedules, formulas, templates that other people have built upon, and then I took what they did, learned what they were doing, and then applied it so that I and whoever else comes behind me can use this program to create our daily schedule. So keep that in mind. Don't be afraid to go out there, learn something new, and practice, because as you saw, some things don't work all the time, other things work perfectly. So we're going to go back in there. Now, one thing to keep in mind, so we have the schedule here, but I need a couple key pieces of information before I can get this to work the exact way I want. So we have data sheet. The data sheet holds nothing more than just data that will be used in other parts of the workbook. I technically can hide this sheet, and I'll tell you why it's important to hide sheets and columns and other things as we go. So up here, you'll notice that I've got a column called channel, and then I've got columns that, for each of the channels going across. I've got the classic programs, events, faith building resources, live streams, School of Miracles, weekly programs, and then I've got column 1, which I'm not using, and spots. Fillers. Underneath the channels in the row, I've got sub-channels. And the reason that that's important is in order to get your drop-down boxes, and in order to make dependent drop-down boxes, we have to have lists that we can then use for data validation. Let's go back to the asset database and look at what I'm talking about. So channels is a drop-down box, but how did I get my option of what I wanted in here? In order to do a drop-down box, we've got to go over to the data tab, which I'm already in. Most people live in the home tab, but if you go over to data, you have this little tab up here called data validation. If I pull up that data validation, it pulls up a little box where I have the code for the list that I want to be able to be pulled. So I've got the name of the page, which is data sheets. Then I've got A2 through A8. Okay? So what does that correlate to? Well, if we close this box and go to data sheets, you see that A2 to A8 is right here. That is this list right here, and that is what populates that drop-down box. That's a very basic drop-down box. It's easy to do. I can come over here real quick to this spot right here, F4, and I can do data validation, and I can pick any one of these options. Lists are typically a common drop-down option, and say I want a yes or no column just for whatever I need it to be. I can literally type yes, comma, no, and then I hit enter, and now I have yes and no as my drop-down option. And that's a very easy way to create a drop-down list. Now, if you want to use assets from a different column, that's where your data validation comes in. We move to data sheets. You see the name get populated right there in the thing. I'm going to grab this list right here. I'm going to say okay, and now you see that my list now has all of those options. Now we don't need this column. I'm going to delete this. Now this drop down, as I said, is dependent upon the first column of channel. So how do we get there? Once again, we're going to go ahead and do a data validation, but it takes a little bit more work because we have then created our data sheet over here where I close that box, where classic programs, and this is what took me a little while to figure out how to get this to work. We have this drop down, this column of classic programs, events, US and international, faith building resources, live streams, School of Miracles, weekly programs, and filler. If you notice in our list, they do not have any spaces. And that is very crucial to doing this successfully, because if you don't, it's not going to work. We then have the same names, not necessarily without spaces, but we have the same names with all of their subsequent drop-down. Okay? Now, what you have to do is you have to create what's called named regions, named column. And if you come over here, you can see on the name table, we have a name for channels, classic programs, events, US and international, faith building resources, fillers, live streams, School of Miracles, sub-channels, title drop-down, weekly programs, assets, table 6, table 2, daily schedule, table 26, and table 1. Now that's all of the lists that we have in order. Now, we don't use them all on this page, but throughout the whole entire workbook, we use all of these named regions. And it's very important that you create a name, and it's very easy to do. What you'll do is you'll select the list that you want to be a named region, come over to formulas, the tab that's labeled formulas, and you will hit create from, so this is your name manager section, define names, and you will click on create from selection. Now, because we have 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different columns that we want named regions, you literally can come over here if you select it, right? And then you can hit create from selection, and it will create a name in the correct format for those columns. Now, I'm not going to do it again because I've already got it and I don't want to mess up my thing. So once you have your named regions, you have your drop down, then you can come back over to the worksheet, or actually the asset database, and then you're going to do the data validation. And it's a very simple code. In that code, you're using the formula indirect. Indirect says I'm going to use the first column, or whatever I'm referencing, in this case D2, which would be this column right here, this box right here, and I'm going to reference that in order to get the list for what I need. So if I have fillers, I'm going to go look for the filler's name in my name manager, and I'm going to use whatever that is. So regardless of what I have in the names, in the name for fillers, that will determine how I do this. So you're not going with a direct list, you're going with an indirect. So that's why when you pick something and don't have something in column D, you can't have anything in column E. So the simple formula is equal, indirect, and then the reference in this case D2. And once you have that, then you can do a drop down, select your whole region, drop it in, and you're good to go. Again, I'm not going to do that simply because I don't want to screw up this program. Now, so that gets us, sorry, let me move back there. That gets us the channel, the sub-channel. Why is that important? Up until this point, I had on the schedule worksheet, I used a drop down as well to select the asset. Up until a couple of days ago, I had that entire 41, I think it's like 39 actual assets that I have, and I had to drill through all 39 in order to pick whatever was coming up. And it was getting very tedious. It was time consuming to have to keep shuffling up and down because you only saw like 6 assets at a time, and you had to scroll up and down, and doing that for anywhere from 100 to 115 assets in a day gets very tedious. So I was trying to figure out a way so that I had the option of just seeing a few assets. I can pick what I wanted for that block, whether it be a classic program, a Place for Miracles, a Chronicles of Faith, a teaching on Seed Faith maybe, or healing or whatever in that block, and then I can then see only those that fit that category. So that's where on the data sheet you saw this little box right here. So once again, we had sub channels like you saw on the name manager. We do have sub channels right here, and that matches this group right here. Okay. Now the named region sub channels actually refers to, and this is where it comes into play. I gotta close that, sorry. Actually this column right here. This entire column. So what we did is we copied this entire column, right? Put them here in this column here, and then use the data tab to remove duplicates. So we only had one copy of, and I can show you how to do that. That's very simple. So we're going to copy that entire list, right, of all 39 sub channels. Then come over to the data sheet. I'm going to pick another spot, and we're going to paste. Okay. Now I've got 39 assets, right? I don't know if you can see it. No, it's cut off. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? I hit the wrong button. I love it when stuff disappears. This is why I need to get a new computer. Bear with me. The joys of live broadcast. All right, so apparently my computer just does not like, just does not like me right now. This computer's been waking out. All right, so we're back. Wow. I have no idea what happened there. I did not intend that to happen. So once again, I'll come over here and copy this. Come over to our data sheet. I'm going to paste it. I now have 39 assets. And we've got duplicates throughout this. You come over to data. You remove duplicates. You hit OK. It says 22 duplicate values were found and removed. 16 unique values remain. So we went from 39 down to 16. Now that becomes our active user. Now I made the mistake and picked a I have no idea what that's about. I'm gonna delete this box right here. I have no idea what that is. I don't know why that's a drop down. Excel, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Point being is that's how easy it is to create a list of unique values from a list of duplicate things. And the reason is it's very important, and this is important why we're doing this. Because at some point what I'm trying to get to is so that I can have a button that allows me to filter all of these assets down from all 39 down to just a few, so I can select the programming in the order that they're going to be aired. So I watched a video the other night, and mind you, I have been watching videos on how to do this for several days, and finally found somebody who did what I needed. He didn't do it exactly the way I needed it, but he did it enough that I was able to take it and then put it into where I needed it. So after you have your filtered selection, right, he suggested making 3 helper columns. The helper columns, the first column, you're going to do a rows from basically 1 to 1. You know, you're going to, and your formula, if you can see this up here, is equals rows A12 locked to A12. And that gives you a bus. And what that means is how many rows is in between A12 and A12. Now the answer is 1 because it's the same line. And by doing that, that gives you a value of 1 through whatever, in this case 16. Now why do you lock A12? Because that is your starting point. It's very important that you lock the first value, because everything subsequent under that is referred to as so spots. How far is spots from bumpers? 2 spaces. How far is healing from bumpers? And that would be 16. So it's important that you lock the first value, but you leave the second value, because on the number 2, we're A12 to A13, all the way down to healing, which is A12 to A27, and that correlates to where it is in the list. So with all of that being said, now we create a drop-down box. Again, another simple drop-down box. Come over to your data validation. What is that box? That box is A12 to A27, locked in place, so nothing at this time. If we want to make adjustments, we have to come in and change the code. So that gives us a drop down. Well, where does that come into play? Why do we need a drop down when we have helper 1. Well, helper 2 is now going to use both the drop down and the helper 1 to create unique values. So what so we're going to use what's called an if statement to get a value of only what's in A9. Right now we have US. A9 is my reference point. Okay. Now I want to know what values fit the US form, which in this case is number 13, right? So the code is A9. That is our reference, and because that is never going to change, we lock it. It says if A9 equals A12. What is A12? That's A12. So if A9 equals A12, then B12. Give me the value of A12. If not, give me nothing. So again, real quick, if A9 equals A12, so if A9 equals bumpers, give me the value of B12, which is 1. If not, give me a value of nothing. That's why, because US doesn't mean bumpers, I get nothing in this field. And because A12 and B12 are not locked, when I drag this down, the formula fills in with A13. Give me B13. A14, the B, so on and so forth, all the way down until we get to 13. Hey, A9 equals A24. Now I'm going to get a value of B24. Okay. The problem with this list is if I change to place for miracles, now I'm up to here at A10. Now, if I happen to have multiple columns, if I have multiple selections, I'm going to have multiple numbers spread out in this whole column. And that is where helper 3 comes into play. And I'll talk about the if error column in just a minute, but the first formula is a small formula. And small basically allows us to compress this list that's in column 2, helper 2, down to the top line. Okay? So we basically will have C12, that locked, all the way down to C27 is our reference point. Change the rows again to C12 to C locked, C12 to C12, to reference that, all the way down, and that will take all the numbers and move the smallest number to the top and subsequently down all the way down to the bottom. So since in this case number 10 is the only one on there, that's at the top of the list. If we had a second one, we're working on Place for Miracles, so I'm going to do this. The Place for Miracles, that's number, why did that go? 6. There we go. I'm going to select this, drag it down to 17. You see now I have number 17 because the Place of Miracles is in there twice. Also, if I drag this down, you'll see I now have 10 and 17 up there. Because it's taking this column and compressing it at the top of the list with nothing. Now, you don't also have any information here because of the if error command. Basically, what this is saying is on the if error says if I don't have an error, use the first portion of the command. Small with the rows and columns that I want. But if I do have an error, there's nothing in the box, I want a blank error. If I did not have this command, if I deleted this command, you will see what happens. Why did it not? Oh, I didn't put the equal sign. I deleted the equal sign. You have to have an equal sign because otherwise it won't know it's a formula. So now if I drag this command down, you're gonna see what we get. We now have a number error because these fields do not have any corresponding information. There is no third option that fits the place for miracles. That's where the if error statement comes into play. And that is why, because otherwise we would have a drop downs with a whole bunch of number errors or line numbers, name errors, or whatever it is. So using this formula, you're able to then do drop downs that I need to back up and fix this. There we go. Back, yeah. So we're back to where we were before. So, with all of that being said, what does all of this? How does this play into what we do for the schedule? So, you look on here and you go, well, I don't see any fields. And this is why we talked about earlier about hiding fields, hiding sheets, and hiding columns. And I'll show you why. Right between J and Q, I've got 5 columns hidden. Okay? So I'm going to unhide them right now so we can walk through them. Bear with me 1 second. And because they're so small, it does take a minute to do that. Okay. So those are now the unhidden column. And as you can see, let me move these over a little bit. As you can see, they kind of match what we had on the data sheets. Now, after playing with this formula, I found that it was better to have the helpers on the same page you're going to use the list for reference point reasons. But if you notice, I've got 16 sub-channels here, but my helper 1 list is significantly more. Why is that? Because this list, the helper 1 list, is actually, if you look at the is actually referencing a lot more than just the 16 thing. It's actually pointing to just a bunch of E2 to E2, which over here, there's no E. Where's E? And then, again, hidden. Why is it hidden? What could be so valuable that you wanted to hide? Oh, well, I'm more. Hey, look. I've got assets here that are just a bunch of random numbers. Okay. This column refers to this column here. Okay. But not really. Because this is only a reference point. So I'm going to hide those back and come over here to where the real tool comes into. So I used this and that E as a kind of a placeholder, but the real tool comes when we get to helper 2. And this is where it's important that we have a reference point. Okay? So I have a bunch of numbers. Just right now 1 through 246. Okay? If J1 which is right here equals asset database E2. Okay, so why did I go back to asset database? Asset database is our reference point, is the location of all the assets that we have in place. So that is what you're going to be referring to back on your page. As you can see, you don't have to have everything on one spreadsheet, one page, spread out across multiple things, columns, and things like that. So you can refer back to other things and other pages, have formulas building upon formulas so that you can then create those complex formulas. So what is asset database? Asset database, column E, we are now looking at this entire list right here. Okay, so if J1 matches this, then give me that corresponding number. Give me M3. Actually, yeah. So if J1 equals asset E2, give me the number. Again, so we can come over here to this drop down. We have our channels, sub channels. Change Chronicles Faith, you see the numbers over here change. Again, if we change to Expect a Miracle Podcast, we now have 17 through 18. Now, if you notice over here, this is where the fun part comes in. You actually have a list over here of those two assets. And we'll get to that in just a minute because it is important to know and very helpful when you're building the schedule. So once again, you have that. You drill that all the way down to 246. Then this one, again, we're going to consolidate column N so that everything is up top, so we're not having to drill down through a bunch of empty space to find those assets that fit the category. Now, we didn't go into this earlier, but this is where column O now correlates to a specific point that we want to be able to pull into a drop down. So, index, assets, so assets is actually the whole entire table on asset database. The O3, which is this right here, and the number 1 refers to the first column in that table. So again, of course we have an if error. So if this doesn't match anything, I don't want anything in my fields. Otherwise, we'd have a bunch of no names appear or name errors again. So the assets, which is this entire table right here, okay, refer to O, the column O, and if you notice the $sign in Excel in formulas refers to a locked field. So O is locked, but 3 is not. Because if we come down to the next one, you'll notice it actually refers to O4. Give me the first column. Well, what's in the first column of assets? The title of the program. Okay? Now, so once I have all of that played out, once I have all that done, I now have a working template to work with and build upon, so that I can then go back and do one more drop down. And this is where it gets a little tricky. Now, I had mentioned earlier that we hide drop downs. We hide pages and columns. Why? I don't want anyone messing with this. I don't want anyone messing with my sub channels. I don't want anyone messing with my numbers, because if they do, stuff starts getting crazy and stuff stops working. So you hide your columns, and one, it compresses everything down. Plus, you don't have to worry about someone coming in and then messing you up. Okay? So, with that being said, we come over here, we change to healing. And right now, the only things in the healing category are Healing Ministry of Jesus Class 4 and the Healing Ministry of Jesus Class 6. So you come over here to this drop down. Let's look at the data validation. This data validation is grabbing this very column. So whatever's in this column from Q2 to Q8 is going to be my list, my drop down list. And that is why it's crucial to have that column there, so that I then now have only those two options. Now, why is that important? Let's just, for kicks and grins, come over here. We're going to create a drop down validation. Right now it says Q2 to Q8. I'm going to delete this, and we're going to say this is what we had originally. We had this entire column. So when I got to my drop down, I now have all of these assets that I have to scroll through every single time. Personally, I don't know about you, But I would rather be looking at an asset of 2 items rather than 39. And you're welcome to do whatever you want, because at the end of the day, this is your project. This is what you want to do. But in all honesty, I honestly prefer to be looking at 2 assets at a time, 4 maybe at most. So we do it this way. So 1 o'clock, we're gonna go ahead and do class 4. Now, if you notice, it's automatically pulling the asset ID, the duration, because this field is doing a VLOOKUP for A5, which is this, going back to asset 3, the assets table, pulling column 3, and false means it has to match exactly, and we're using an if error to give me nothing. So that way, if I type in here something that's not right, one, I can't type in here and get something that's not right because I'll get an error. But if there's nothing there, don't have anything else. But duration is doing the same thing, except it's, instead of being column 3, it's column 2. And this start time is generated by a sum of D4, which is the number right above it, plus C4, and adding those 2 numbers together gets me this number. That's why it's crucial to make sure that the durations are included in the page going down on the asset. So all of the information plays together to create a quick thing. Now, I've got less than an hour to create a whole page. How am I gonna do this? Well, we're gonna watch me do it right now, because I literally have to get a schedule up in the next few minutes. Now we've got 26, we've got 226.49. So I've got 3:11 to fill to get to the bottom of the hour. So I can look at my list and go, I've got 1:11 I can use to get me to a minute. I think that works great, and that's a faith building resource. If I come over to my asset, I change this to a faith building resource. I can find it in the list. I looked at the wrong, I apologize, I looked at the wrong column. Faith building is a channel, healing prayers is the actual sub-channel. Healing prayers. Now I'm not sure which one of these is the right one, so I'll go ahead and pick one and see if it fits. That's 1:20. Not what I want either. So I'll go to the other one, and now I've got 2 whole minutes. Well, I know, because I've done this enough, I've got a roll-in that is exactly 2 minutes. So I'll pick roll-ins, and then I come to my drop-down, and I've got a 2-minute video right here. I am now at the bottom of the hour. Well, we want to start the hour or half hour with a bumper of the logo, station logo. So we'll do that. And then now that it's 2:30 in the morning, we're gonna go ahead and pick one of our regular shows. So we are going to go to weekly programs, the place of miracles, and we are on the week of the 26th. So we're just gonna roll March 26th, since that's the week we are on. That gets me to a minute 21, and I know I have another roll-in that's a minute 21. As you can tell, I've done this plenty of times. So that gets me to the top of the hour. I am now at 3 a.m. I'm a quarter of the way done. So, now, we're at 3 a.m. Once again, we'll come in and do a bumper. Come over here to that. And we are going to do healing. And because we rolled class 4 earlier, we're going to roll class 6. I picked class 4 again and just change it up. We're now at 4:30:51. I'm a little over the hour and a half, but that's okay. So because we've already gone an hour and a half without a bumper, I'm gonna go ahead and roll my bumper, 9-second bumper, and that's going to get me to 4:31. Okay. Now I know I've got a. So I'm doing Saturday's program. This is for Saturday. So Saturday, typically we would do teaching, and we've already done 2 teachings. So I want to do a teaching on the Holy Spirit. So we're going to do Holy Spirit's work today, class 1, and see what that does and see how long that is. That's an hour and 16 minutes. Okay. So obviously, once again, bumper. I really wish there was a way I could double click on this and bring it right down. And that might be tomorrow's problem. Figuring out how to do that. Just drag, just select that to be the asset that fills in. So we're at 5:47:22. That's 2 minutes and 38 seconds. So 2:38. So looking at my thing, I've got a 1:37. I've got a 3:28. I've got 1:37. So I said 2:38. 2:38. Let's roll. Let's do another healing prayer. We did the 111 already, which is eyes. Let's do cancer. The healing prayer, cancer. So I'll go back to healing prayers. We're going to do cancer. Just double check, make sure I didn't do that earlier. And now we're at 5:48:42, which gives me a minute and 18 seconds, a minute 18, 44, that might be enough. We'll roll the spot miracle mini book. That is a spot. That gets me to 26. So that is 34 seconds, which I don't have anything that is 34 seconds long. I have a 30. I've got 30. It wouldn't be enough. 44. There's 10 seconds over. So that may not work out well. Let's look at what we did here. So minute 20. Let's change the healing prayer to a spot that is a little bit less. That gives me 41 seconds. 30, maybe 11 seconds. That's 2 seconds too long. Trying to get to 6 seconds even. So what do we have that's 111? That's back to the 111 that we had earlier. So let's do this. Let's do the India roll-in. Where was rolling? That gets me to 44 seconds. I've already got 44 seconds here, so we're going to change that to a minute 21. That's 7 seconds. That's too long. 21. Alright, let's go to a spot and see if we. And this is sometimes what it takes to just get to schedule the timeout. 30 seconds there. 44 seconds there. I'm at 14 seconds. I'm having a hard time timing this out. I don't have enough assets to do this yet. I've got a 9-second bumper right there at 5.7. So let's change this. To 30 seconds. And change this. 23, that's 37 seconds. And I think that's going to be, and I apologize. I'm looking at this as 50. I've got 10 minutes. I've been so far off. I've got 10 extra minutes to play with because I got to get to the top of the hour. So let me do this. We have to redo this. So, all right. So I need something a little bit longer. So I know exactly what we're going to do. We're going to do a testimony. Living proof. We're going to do right out of the Holy Spirit. We're going to do Emily Deer, which is a 411. That'll give me the 551.24. Then we're going to do our 110 spot. I have to roll in. Actually, let's go. We got a little bit longer roll in. We got a 2-minute roll in, which we rolled earlier. I like that roll in. So we're going to do, instead of the Graveworks India spot, we're going to do the Vision spot. And then we're going to roll the Graveworks India Thank You spot. And then we still have 5:15. So 5:15, that gives me, I can either roll some more spots or we can roll the other healing testimony, living proof. And I think we're going to do that. Get us a little bit closer. Now I've got a minute 47. Minute 47. Minute 47. I apologize, my screen blinked out. Alright, minute 47. Minute 47. So, minute 47. Minute 21. We just rolled. Minute 20 for the cancer prayer. Did we use the cancer prayer yet? We did not. We took it out. So let's roll that. That gets me to 27 seconds. Actually, we're gonna roll Silas's piece here. That's 10 seconds. That means I'd be off by 1 second. Oh well. I think we're gonna be off by 1 second. Okay, so that gets me to 5 o'clock. So it's actually 6 o'clock in the morning. So, do I play around with it some more to get to exactly 6 o'clock? I don't know if I have much room to go anywhere. But because of this and we're in the block, let's go ahead and roll class 2 of the Holy Spirit, which is actually class 5, not class 2. That gets me to 724, which is 525. To the bottom of the hour. Let's roll a couple roll-ins. Gray Works is a good one. Go in the vision again, and good measure will go in the India picture. That gets me to 729.06, which is 54 seconds. Let's roll a 30-second spot. Actually, let's roll the 44-second spot. That's 10 seconds, and once again, we'll be within 1 second of the bottom of the hour. And then we're on to Seed Faith. But as you can see, I mean, I'm gonna do this for a little bit longer so you guys can watch all you want. But basically that's what this is all. This is taking me a week to figure this out. So bear with me while I finish out the schedule for the day. We have we have 2 classes, and then we have a video from Richard. So we'll start with the class. And then because these are not even, I'm just gonna go ahead and go bumper. And then we're gonna go to one spot. We haven't shown YouTube yet today, so let's play that one. Then we're gonna go to class 2. Proceed faith. Again, bumper, right out of that. And then we're going to roll another spot. And let's do Miracle Living CD set. And then we're going to roll the last See Faith video. And see where we get time-wise. So that gets me to 9:34. 21. So that's actually 23:39. That's an odd number. So let's look at our asset list and see what we have that is around that time. I've got 27 minutes, which is too long. But 26, 25. You give me 22. Okay, let's throw this in here real quick. Let's move this. Let's do this. Let's go straight to the C face. Then we will go and this is what sometimes it takes to get your stuff to line out right. No. 33, so that's 20, that's not quite 27 minutes, and the video is exactly 27 minutes. Now look, 27 minutes for classic video. So, where do I have, here's another 30 seconds, we take that out. So, take this out. I'm gonna put CD2 here. Put C base 4 here. Then we're gonna put bumper here. That gets me to 32:47. That's 27:13, which is what we want. So let's try try the classic program. I do 4 seconds there, so let's do the 27 minutes. So that is a classic Chronicles of Faith, I believe. Is that right? You must expect a miracle. Wait a minute. Wait, 7, that's 13 seconds. So we got 13 seconds. I got 9, that's 4 seconds. But anywhere I can add 4 seconds to this day, the answer is that no, I don't. But if I do this, nine, 18, 27. So 4 seconds to 10 o'clock. Okay, well, that is what it is. We're close to, as close to the top of the hour as I can with the assets that I have. 4 seconds. Does anything else have 4 seconds more than what is in here? So we got minute 21. We've got hour 13. So I got one. That's 2 seconds there. Do I have? Am I using a 1:11 that I can use a 13 in the schedule? Here I've got a healing prayer 111. I've got a spot we can roll that'll give me 2 seconds there. And that's the CD. So go to spots here. Change the healing prayer for eyes to 113. That gets me to 258. So now I need 2 more seconds. What other ones has a couple seconds ahead? Am I doing the greater work spot anywhere? Am I doing the greater work spot in the pick spot 110? Right here. So I can now go to the healing prayer. But instead of 110, I can do a 111. Yeah. Oh, okay. 111, sorry, 1 second. So does anything else have 1 second more than the other? We've got the greater work spot 121. So am I doing the healing prayer for cancer? Do I have the cancer prayer one? Yeah, prayer for cancer. I've already got that twice already. So 3 times already today. I don't think I'm about tapped out on options. I'm not using that spot today. And you know, 9, 21, 30, 33, 4, 5, 10. 7. I have nothing else that has 1 extra second up what's there. No reason to use any time here. No. I think we're gonna have to live with ending at 9:59. Okay. Well, that's the schedule. So, what else is there? What is Jeff saying? Comment. I don't know what you mean by comment. And then you say, get a Mac for some Microsoft. Get a Mac. And what would you expect me to use there, Jeff? Would you expect me to would you expect me to use what would be a Mac equivalent to wouldn't that be, does Mac have a Excel worksheet thing? Numbers. That's it. Took me a minute to figure it out. I have no idea why this is not loading right. There it is. Okay, numbers. Can I use numbers? Microsoft numbers. Not Microsoft, Apple numbers. That might work. That might be an option. But of course, the cost of a Mac is what? 10 times as expensive as a thing? Anyway, it is what it is. I mean, that's the thing about it. But anyway, and it probably is built into the coding that I have. That is what's causing the errors. So the fun part about using Microsoft Excel over just the regular programming, I've got 10 hours of programming. I don't want to sit here and do 10 more hours of programming, and we can loop the content. Now, I don't need to loop all the day because I would have a double thing up, logo. I don't need double logos. I don't need it to loop twice. So I'm just going to copy and then paste, and that should get me to 7. Now 8. I'm 10 seconds short because of the loop, the fact that I'm a loop. So what I'm going to do is, instead of this one at 9:40, that's 20 seconds. I'm actually going to change this to the other bumper. And change it to my 21 second bumper. That gets us to 8 p.m. Now I know I don't have 10 hours left in the day. I've only got 4 hours in the day left. 8 to midnight. So I'm going to take 4 hours. So 9 to... That won't work. this and see what we get for the day. And I went over by an hour. So let's go ahead and cut this. It's 11 to 12:30. I want to cut that. We're now at 11 o'clock. 11:03. So we need an hour, less than an hour. So let's look at our assets. The reason I say that is because we cannot go over midnight. The database doesn't allow us to go over the day. So actually, I take that back. It might. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. Because believe it or not, there's actually something I want to test. So let's do this. That's at 1:58:07. Yeah, we'll go ahead and go into the next day and see what happens. But let's just finish out the 2 o'clock. I'm at 44 seconds. That's 16 seconds. So the only thing I can do is a 9-second bumper right here. And see if I can get myself 7 seconds somewhere. 7 seconds. Isn't there a 207 or something? 137 spot 2. 137 spot. $21.37. That's a little bit more than that. Sometimes this is boring, I know, but it's important to get these stuff right. So I take that back, that's a roll-in. That gets me to... I take that back. Let's take the bumper off. Actually, no, the bumper would be there good. The bumper would be good. Oh, that allows me to worry about the next day, 2 a.m. So we got it done. That's my schedule. All the way up to 2 a.m. the next day. It's all day Sunday and up to the bumper at 2 o'clock in the morning, which we will roll in on Sunday morning, 2 a.m. How fun is that, ladies and gentlemen? We have now an extra couple days. Now, a couple things to keep in mind that I need to keep in mind is, first off, this number here, the asset schedule goes to number 84. Why? Because this is now my asset list for the database. I am up to 83, line 83, which correlates to how many schedules, and then in the actual schedule, and this is actually Saturday. April 1st. Now, if you notice, this is actually starting Central Time, because our schedule, this will help let me remember, okay, this is what's actually scheduled for Central Time. Our schedule on the database is actually in Eastern. Now it's 9:44. I'm uploading for Saturday, so I should be able to do this without any problems. Tomorrow's schedule is already done. Schedule. I need to come over to this page here. But before we do that, I want to make sure I save this. We're gonna save our database. And here are the rules that this is where the problems rely on. Some features in this file won't work in earlier versions of Microsoft Excel. These features may be lost or degraded when opening this workbook in an earlier version of Excel. Minor loss of fidelity. One or more cells in this workbook contain data validation rules which refer to values on other worksheets. These data validation rules will not be supported in earlier versions of Excel. Location, access database, datasheet, and scheduled. But they don't tell me what it is. Okay. So I'm using a rule that does not correlate with younger versions of Excel. But it doesn't necessarily tell me what that rule is. So let me see what that rule is. Indirect. I'm betting indirect is not supported in older versions of Excel. Got it. Okay, well, I want to use it because it's a very helpful page, and so we're going to use it, and hopefully it will work out. Now, come over to our schedule. We're going to File, Save As. We're going to change this to a common delimited CSV file. We are calling it the 230401 CSV file. That's normal. Come over here. And now we're going to go and upload our file. And yeah, actually, let's upload the file. Alright. 4.1. Change my upload file first. And we're gonna hit OK. Now, one thing that I'm not sure if it's gonna work or not is because we're going into Sunday's schedule. I was told that you can import and do a whole week at a time. It says video schedule was successfully imported. So now, I will verify the schedule. And something's not right. So they got me all the way till 11 o'clock at night. Which is right there, Place of Miracles. So that's the last program on my list. So let's just double check our spreadsheet. And make sure that it's all working correctly. Huh. I'm gonna close this. We're not gonna save, we just saved before we saved our Excel sheet. This up again, see what happens. Alright. 53, that should be. Why is that not? Good. Let me yeah, I mean, some of this stuff is really interesting to watch. This only gets me to 9:30 to 9:58. I'm gonna upload this again. Upload it at the first. Say okay. Oh. Oh. Yeah, something's not working right. I don't know why I've got it scheduled all the way out, but they say it doesn't work out. So let's hope. And go back to our schedule and see if we can change to and that might be because of the fact that we are going all the way to 12 o'clock. That's an hour. Again, that's an hour. International, not how international. $58.36, minute and a half. mouth is so sensitive right now. 21 seconds. We can roll the 21-second bumper there. Or is that 12 seconds? That's 11 seconds. Yep, that's 11. Man, thought this was gonna be easy. That's 24 seconds. Let's just roll the long bumper and call it good. Alright. That gets us to 11:49. So let's do schedule again. Sure that 9 should be 78. File, save this. File, save as. SV. Well, and that's it. One, and then obviously need to upload last time. File. First, with. And hey, look at that. It fit. So apparently, if you go over time on the schedule, it will not go to the next day. And it might be that you can't go into the next week. So I don't know. I'll have to play that next week's programs and see. But we have literally filled up the entire day on our platform to get going. Thanks for hanging out. Sorry if it got a little boring, a little dry there. But thanks for hanging out with us. God bless you all. Have a great week. This was an extra long video. 2 hours video. But you know, sometimes when you're programming, when you're doing stuff, it just takes time. And that's what broadcast is all about. Spending time doing things you like, doing things you love. And yeah, I think we got in just at the bottom of the hour. So thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Enjoy your week. We will see you next week right here at the same time. And we'll have some more exciting things to talk about. God bless you all, and we'll see you next week on Tech Talk right here on YouTube.